My PhD research focuses on climate change policy in the agriculture sector. So I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about the impacts of climate change on agriculture. These two have a troubling relationship since agriculture contributes to climate change and it's affected by it, and it tends to get worse. The goal of the video is to explain the impacts of climate change on food and agriculture as interconnected across environmental, social, and economic dimensions. So, climate change is impacting agriculture all around the globe. That's right, biodiversity is under risk by climate change. And the importance of world's agricultural biodiversity cannot be overstressed. It provides us food and safeguards livelihoods. At the same time, agriculture is responsible for about a quarter of all anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions. To make things even more complicated, in a few decades, our planet's food system will need to feed an additional 2 billion people. Producing more and more nutritious food will be made all the more challenging as a result of climate change. Besides, up to 122 million more people worldwide may live in extreme poverty by 2030 as a result of climate change and its repercussions on incomes of small-scale farmers. To understand point by point, the agricultural sectors that will be negatively affected are crop sector, livestock, forest ecosystems, fisheries, and aquaculture. Impacts on food security will occur, diminishing food availability, food access, food utilization, food stability, and food safety. On the topic of nutrition and human health, well, this negative impact will be substantial in developing countries, especially on per capita calorie availability and childhood undernutrition and undernutrition-related child deaths. Likewise, natural resources, biodiversity, genetic diversity, soils, surface water, and groundwater resource will face downsides. Post-production stages and post-harvest stages will be impacted. All of this will influence human migration. While climate change is not the only driver of poverty and food insecurity, it is a major factor. It's also crucial to remember the role of gender. Climate change affects everyone, but its impacts are often not gender-neutral. According to the FAO's estimate, climate change can exacerbate existing gender inequalities in agriculture. Overall, studies have attempted to assess impacts of climate change in different agricultural sectors in different locations. The majority of them point to mostly negative impacts which will worsen with increased temperatures if climate change is allowed to progress. They also show that negative impacts are likely to be much more challenging in developing countries and countries with already high levels of poverty and food insecurity. So the scenario is not looking bright, but instead of relying on desperation, let this be an impulse to change. One of the key challenges facing this issue and designing agriculture policies is in understanding that the impacts vary geographically. It's essential to jointly address the complex and often overlooked connection between agriculture and environmental hazards in the context of climate change. We need to get our minds together and rethink how to promote innovation to address the variances and uncertainties of climate change impacts.